That was a good one. Here we go. This time we're going to do 2 albums, and I'll tell you why. The first album, Monuments to Impermanence by Pyrithe, I believe is the name. I will show you the cassette cover here, but of course, as always, we'll put the cover up there so we don't get the Grindelwald white type of thing. Not sure how I heard about this album, but it's one of those that's causing it to be so hard to pick out what is going to be album of the year, because this album is amazing. And beyond my normal, borrowing Kathleen's great old headphones, downloading it in FLAC, listening it to that way, because I love cassettes, but I like to give the music a great chance, the best chance it possibly can. But an album like this, it deserves extra measures. And if you listen to sludge a lot, there are combinations that are conducive to truly enjoying a great sludge album. And this is not just a great sludge album. It is very difficult to pin down. There are highlights of my life of shows that I've seen. And I'm thinking of the first time that I saw Neurosis perform Souls at Zero live. Because before then, Neurosis was a great hardcore band, in my opinion. But when I saw them do Souls at Zero, it was just like mind-blowing. You were like, the game has changed. And then I saw His Hero Is Gone at a basement show. I believe it was at Animal Farm. Long time ago. But anyways, that show just... I think any basement show is just gonna rule. But His Hero Is Gone absolutely devastated me. I have yet to see Pyrite live. I totally would. But... this album is amazing. It is so good. It's a trio from Pittsburgh, and it's funny because I always think of Pittsburgh as kind of like Pittsburgh relation to Philadelphia is kind of the same as Tacoma's relation to Seattle. Like both Tacoma and Pittsburgh kind of remind me of like your best friend's older brother who never went to college, just hung around, had like a huge Sleep or Celtic Frost poster on the wall. The double gatefold the Slayer that you pull the seeds out back in the day. So Pittsburgh just kind of reminded me of that. And Pyrite is a trio, we'll just call them experimental sludge, from Pittsburgh. And it's John Kerr on drums, Weston Zach on bass and contrabass, just in case that wasn't low enough for you. And Zach Miller on guitars. And man, they sound like all the bands I mentioned before and the entire AMRAP catalog just smushed together and distilled into just pure goodness. I mean, this album is so freaking good that it made me miss my dog. Like, my dog Pikus was amazing, and I have not missed him so much as when I sat down and listened to this album, like, very closely, because that dog, first of all, he loved getting lifted. I even asked the vet one time, I was like, is it okay if he, and the vet was this older guy, and he was just like, this dog is 14 to 15 years old. I think whatever you're doing is great by him. Yeah. But yeah, this album's so good, made me miss my dog. And they have a lot of guest appearances on this album, which just adds to it. Like, everybody just... It's so good. It starts off... First of all, we have to talk about the drum work. Like, the drum work by John Kerr on this is amazing. And it is recorded and mixed perfectly, where it's coming from all directions. So you have this technical, yet very emotional drum work that's captured beautifully and just... Oh, it's so good. And that first song, I think it's Asservians. Like, I'm going to butcher some pronunciations on this. Just know that going in. I'm bad at pronunciations anyways, but some of these titles, forget it. But anyways, it opens up with just these amazing drum fills that are just coming at you. And you get this kind of post-rock, heavy reverb. Just the ambience of this album just crushes you right from the very beginning. And this kind of instrumental passage leads into Glipsiotama? Don't know. Go look it up on Bandcamp and figure it out. This is guest vocals by Vicky Carbone, and this is where, okay, you want to talk about troubles in pronunciation? This reminded me of an R Wake album. Like, what is it with that extra R? I mean, yeah, I even saw R Wake at, I think it was Emissions from the Monolith down in Youngstown, Ohio. There's the town. But seeing them, I was just like, how do you pronounce your name? You know? If you know them, you know this type of thing. And Glypsotama just totally kind of reminded of that. You have Vicky's amazing vocals just stab you on the chest right from the very beginning. You have this very great synth work, which I think it's a synth because it sounds very organy, but I know people are credited with synths on this album. So that's why I'm going to think it is. You have like trash noise coming in. And you have these distorted, long-held, almost Ebo guitar passages going in there. And it rides that kind of post-rock wave with just this beautiful crumbling texture to it. And then that goes into In Praise of the Enochian Trickster, where you get like the bass coming in. This is very much where that Neurosis Souls at Zero comparison comes in. If you're old school, you could actually say like Iron Maiden, Rime of the Ancient Mariner, because it was that groaning ship stuff and long instrumental passages, spoken word type of thing going on. That goes into Heaving Roots, you know, which is all these ambient cymbal washes going on. You have resonating strings. It's just incredible. I'm not going to go track by track through this whole album. I would just say go to Bandcamp, check it out. Strong contender for Album of the Year. And the thing that was cracking me up, and I was saying about Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, is the other album I really freaking love is from Philly. And that was the Dridge Curing album, and I'll put the link to that at the end of the video. That'll be a good place for it. And I was just like, what the heck is going on in Pennsylvania that all these great bands are coming out of there? It's just so good. And that cover art by Carolyn Harrison, that needs to be called out. And the other thing is this album is so well recorded and mixed, which it was engineered and mixed by Spencer Morris. He definitely deserves a shout out by this. And it was mastered by Justin Weiss. And the reason I was questioning this, I want to make a point of this, the entire time I was listening to this on headphones, because it had been a while since I'd listened to it, and I was like, did Billy Anderson do work on this album? Because it just has that syrupy, thick, heavy feel to it that I associate with Billy Anderson. Like, there's a handful of producers that if they work on an album, I will definitely, it's almost an instant purchase. I will definitely check it out. And that includes like Steve Austin, Billy Anderson, as I mentioned, James Plotkin. Now I'm going to add Spencer Morrison and Justin Weiss to this because holy crap, it is just, it's so good. And like I said earlier on the Nerds Baddington review, this is also like a Rosetta Stone for going deeper into this kind of style, because you have these guest appearances from like people from Noltham, Pyron. Just go look it up. The one thing I will say, right here, I gotta take this out in order to do it. Should have taken it out earlier. And I know on here it says John Keir did the layout for the cassette thing. Dude, how are you supposed to read what the hell people did? What is that, like a size 2 font in vermilion on black? Like, the white you can barely read on that. That red, I buzzed it out. Reading glasses, magnifying. The fuck is that? Jesus. However, comma. Not that important unless you're just a total otaku like me when it comes to this type of thing. So, I would definitely recommend getting this album, and holy crap, is it good. Now on to the second one, because you know, time on the hands, and let me flip, this is my amazing teleprompter here. See that? Yeah, we're high tech around here. The next one that I listened to in this session was the album Slow Tongue Beauty, Ready to Leave. This album, I wasn't quite sure where it appeared from, because one day I just had it type of thing. And trying to find this album, I think I bought it in a bundle from Flag Day Recordings. And if you don't know Flag Day Recordings, I'll link to it took me a while to find this on Bandcamp, because they have it listed really strangely for Flag Day Recordings. But check out everything that Flat Day Recordings puts out. It's an interesting label to follow, but I'm pretty sure I bought this in a bundle, which is that's a little bit harder to find on their thing because it's not in the music section. It's in the merch section, which is... I'm not sure about that decision. But anyways, Slow Tone Beauty, call it power ambience. Like, too much ambient has just become like, oh, we have no rhythm and we're going to let light and fluty and in the background. And no, there's power ambience, and Slow Tone Beauty crushes that. This is Ryan Scott here. He's out of Philadelphia, which cracked me up when I realized it because I was already doing that Tacoma, Pittsburgh type thing. So to have one band from Pittsburgh, another noise project from Philadelphia kind of cracked me up, you know what? Anyways, Ready to Leave. It's a 20-minute tape altogether, 10 minutes per side. The first song, Vaguely Seductive Entropy, has a lot of like these crumbling electronic tones and these heavy reverb wash fields, which goes into processed vocals, and then you kind of ride along on that and the tones start to return, but this time it feels like it's a different source to them. Like the first tones I would think are almost purely electronic, because I do know this is a modular synth and sampler recording, but then it goes from like electronic tones, ambience, sounds almost like guitar tones, maybe E-boat strings, not quite sure about that, and then back into those like electronic tones, and you kind of do this shimmering fade out, and the description does no justice to this at all. It's so good, you just have to hear it. Go listen to it on Flag Day. I'll link to it down below. And then the next side is Step Out, Lone and Flayed. And this starts off, it sounds like a sample of an orchestra tuning up or something like that that's been processed. I'd be really interested to find out if he has a morphogene, because it has that kind of feel to it. Then you go into these kind of buried vocal samples going on, and then you get these reversed and bit crushed like waves just coming in and out, and almost these metallic like space pings, kind of like if Voyager was, you know, sending its signals off out into the ether. And I would say right off the bat, if you're a fan of Migo Editions, especially like Fenez's Endless Summer, you'll probably really like this, because it's a beautiful blending of, like I said, noise, ambience, those bit crushed and reverb tones. It's really well done. And you'll notice the case, yeah, it's missing the cover. I'll find it someday. And but the cardstock that they used on this is really thick and nice. And I know I'm not the only noise fan that likes those little touches in there. And the cassette is really pretty. It's got the kind of screen printed thing on it, information on the side, and you can actually read who worked on the design. I know I'm taking a cheap dig at you, Mr. Kerr. Sorry about that. That aside, both of these releases, very, very solid. Super solid. And I would immediately go out and buy Pyrithe's Monuments to Impermanence, because it is so good. I can't convey how good that album is. It reaffirms my faith in sludge. Just that good. And I miss my dog. Anyways, love you guys. I'll talk to you later. Thanks for putting up with my ramblings. Bye.